Shalom lakam. How are you? In this video, I'm going to tell you the origin of the word Hebrew and prove to you that the word Hebrew is not the name of the biblical language of the Jews. Okay? And I'm not going to spit out my opinions. I'm going to spit out facts. I'm going to reference the concordance. I'm going to reference the scriptures, and I'm going to reference other sources such as the Talmud to prove to you, number one, that Hebrew came from the Talmud and it was made up by the so-called Israeli people, whatever you want to call them. I call them Israelite because that's how I pronounce it. Sometimes I call it Jewish because that's also how I pronounce it. You might say Jewish. Nonetheless, so the people who call themselves Jews, and most of them are not, are calling the language of the Bible Hebrew. And I do want to let you know why. Okay, number one, they are trying to basically say that they have the original language of the Israelites and Abraham, because Hebrew, the word, let's just look at it in the concordance. Number one, there's no J in the ancient biblical language. No J in the ancient biblical language. So to say Judah, to say Jews is incorrect. So the reason why we're in a state of confusion concerning the language, concerning names of biblical people, is because we have been translated. We have been translated. And when you look at the word trans, it's like being in a trance. We have been put in a state of trance. When I say we, I am referring to people who study in the language, people who whose ancestors from antiquity have been the original. It was their language, but you're trying to learn it to go back. But we're in a state of a trance. We're being lied to. So if you're saying Yahudah, Yahudah, you're saying it wrong. Or if you're saying Jews, you're saying it wrong. So number one, Yahudah is the word that's been said to be Judah. So it would be right here. This is the word Yahudah. You notice the word Yah is in it? Yahudah. So this doesn't make the J sound. It makes the Yi sound. Yahudah. And so the biblical language, and by the way, Yahudah can be found in Strongs 30 and 63. These are facts. This is not me saying it. Strongs 30 and 63 is the name for Judah. And the tribe was called Yahudeyth, which is Strong's 3064. And so if I take out the Habal symbol at the end, and I put a Yid symbol, Yahudeyth, this is the word that was translated as Jews. Does that look like Jews to you? It doesn't even make sense that that's a translation. Yahudeyth. Yahudeyth is the name of the people who come from the lineage of the man who's named Judah. Okay, the ruling tribe of Judah. Yahudeyth people spoke Yahudeyth. Yahudeyth is the name of the language, and you could find it in Strong's 3066. And this is really easy to see. And interestingly, this is the word that is said to be the language of the Jews. Now, Yahudeyth, I'm sure you're familiar with this word, has been mistranslated as Judean. But you're familiar with Judean. But this word can't be Judean, number one, because there's no J in the ancient language. Just like Judah is incorrect, just like Jews is incorrect. So Yahudeyth is the true way to say it. We don't need to translate the name of the language. It's Yahudeyth. But if you want to translate it, feel free to say Judean. Okay? It's better that you say Judean than you be incorrect and say Hebrew. At least the word Judean can be connected back to Yahudeyth. And people will know you're talking about Strong's 3066. Then where did the name Hebrew came from? Well, the name Hebrew came from the Talmud. This is my research, okay? And I actually already made a video about this, and I'll put the link up here. So go ahead, click this afterwards, or I'll put it at the end, and you can watch that video. But just come back to this because I want to show you some more information concerning the word Hebrew. Now, the word Hebrew is said to come from Ibar. Ibar has been translated as Eber in the Bible. Eber is Abraham's forefather, but it's really Ibar, okay? And so Ibar is the word that they said Hebrew came from. Ibarey is the name of the people who come from Ibar. So Abraham, he was Ibarey. This is the word that you'll find in the translation to be translated as Hebrew. But this doesn't look like the word Hebrew, does it? It's just like the word Judah and Judean and Jews. It's just been translated, been put in a trance. The ayin symbol doesn't make the ha sound. So how can this be Hebrew? And there's no W in the ancient language either. They're confusing us with their translation, and there's really no reason to believe them. They're guessing. Okay, truth be told, they're guessing. But anyways, you can look at the language and see that they're guessing, because there's no rhyme and reason on how they pronounce words. It's sheer confusion. Okay. And by the way, if you don't know me, I am Yahudahey. I am the one who discovered the origins of these ancient symbols. I know the origins of the symbols. If you haven't already watched my video, I am Yahudahey. You can, after this is over, you can go ahead and watch it and see that my goal is to prove the meaning of words and to show you when they're lying to you. Okay. And I'm not trying to lie to you. I'm not just going to tell you something if I can't prove it. If I can't prove it, I'm just going to shut up. Okay. And wait until Yah reveals it to me. Okay. Why would I talk about something I don't know, where I don't have information, where I can be called out? I don't want to do that. I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to be called out. But if you see some flaw in me, call me out. Okay. I'm happy to be called out so I can get attention and fix something. Because, I'm human. Sometimes I make errors here and there, but my goal is to not make errors. I want to show you this book right here. This is a book that I found in the library yesterday. I'm doing some research concerning what other people are teaching about ancient Hebrew. So I got 2 books from the library, and this is one of them, Biblical Hebrew. And I was looking at this book today, Ibareyth Makurit. Number 1, you're not going to find the word Ibareyth anywhere in the Bible. So this is the word that they're saying is Hebrew. Ibarey is the word that's in the Bible for the so-called Hebrew people. This is what Abraham was called. He was called Ibarey. Then what is Ibareyth? Ibareyth is a new word. So I find it interesting that on the cover of this page, of this book, it's saying it's going to teach you biblical Hebrew, yet the actual name of the language can't be found anywhere in the scriptures. Explica to me, please. Explica, how can that be? How can that be? How can it be that they're teaching you a language that has no word in the scriptures? Now, I call the ancient language, the language before Hebrew or before Yahudeyth, Manakati. And that is found in the scriptures. I didn't make that up. This is totally made up. This is made up by the experts who are afraid to use critical thinking. They're afraid to be philosophical and challenge each other. And it's like they feel like they all have to agree. You don't all have to agree. Somebody has to be right. Somebody has to be able to prove it without a shadow of a doubt. And I'm here to do that. They lied. Call them out. Liars, okay? And me saying that they're lying might even get my video blocked, okay? So I'm going to save a copy of this video. And if this gets deleted, it's okay, YouTube. I got it on my computer. I will upload it to Vimeo or something. You ain't gonna, you're not going to quiet Yahudahey. It's just not gonna happen. Good luck. Word made up too. And so, but they get the organization of the word. It is from the scriptures, the way they're calling it Ibareyth. Notice this is called Yahudeyth. Okay, so the name Yahudah, to attribute it to a language, you have to say eth, Yahudeyth. Okay, and so if you're Ibarey and you speak Ibarey, you actually would speak Ibareyth. So the way they organize the word for the language is correct. 100% makes sense. However, Abraham didn't speak Ibareyth. This is an assumption that they made. I mean, do you really want to learn a language based on assumptions? Like, this is not what I'm teaching. I had edited this very video. I had made this video and I had made a mistake when I was writing on the board. I was sleepy that day. I was writing on the board and I was really confused. I was writing because I was tired. I'm like, wait a second, this doesn't look right. but I was so tired as I was doing the video that I didn't notice that I was writing it wrong on the board. And so I'm remaking this video because I wrote it wrong on the board initially. And someone had wrote a comment, another one saying I have the pure language. I'm not saying I have the pure language. I am proving to you I have the pure language. I have the knowledge of the symbols. And I'm not proving it in this video. I am showing you facts. This is all facts you can find in Strong's. You can go ahead and look. I'll put the links of all this in the description of this video. Go ahead. You'll get the link for all of this, and you'll see scriptures, and I will go to it, and you'll see. I'm actually going to read it to you. I'm going to read to you the scriptures concerning that the language is Yahudeyth. Nowhere in the Bible. I challenge you. I challenge you. If you think your language is called Hebrew, the language of the Israelites, that they spoke Hebrew, show me the word Ibarey anywhere in the Bible. You can't. Go ahead, show me. Show me the word Ibarey, which was translated as Hebrew. Show me that in the Bible. Show me where it's located, that it was said to be the language of Abraham. Show it to me, because I'm telling you it was an assumption. That's your homework. Go ahead. Go do that. And if you can't, you're going to have to confess Yahudeyth, Judean, which is a poor translation, but whatever. I'd rather you say Judean than you say Hebrew. It's just following the fake Jews. Oops. I mean, those who call themselves Jews. Some of them might be Jews ancestrally, but a lot of them are not. And unfortunately, it's not my job to figure out who is who. If you think you're a Jew, great for you. Okay, I'm happy for you. I'm not going to say you're not. I'm not going to say anyone's not. But the vast majority of people who call themselves, Jews, they're telling the truth by what they're calling themselves, Israeli. Look at the word Israeli. It has the word lie in it, okay? Israeli. The scripture doesn't call the Israelites Israeli. It literally calls them Bani Yisrael, children Israel, okay? And so, where does the word Israeli come from? Like, I could do a whole study on the word Israelite. That's a good study for another day. Let's look in the scriptures where it says Yahudeyth for the language. I can't do no study in the scriptures about Ibarey because it's not associated with the language. Okay, so I got my computer so I can read to you where it says. I'll show it to you right here. Yahudeyth in Strongs Concordance 3066. This is the name that was associated with the language of the Israelites, okay? And so the first time it was mentioned was in 2 Kings 18:26. I'm going to read 2 Kings 18:28 because it's clearer. I'm going to read it in the King James. It says right here, then Rabshakeh stood and cried with a loud voice in the language of the Jews, or in the Jews' language, and spake, saying, hear the word of the great king, the king of Assyria. Okay? And so it says the language of the Jews. So that's what the translator for King James said. And let me see what other translators said. So I like this website because you can go on it and you could put parallel. Let's go to parallel just to see how this word was translated. Okay? And so if I scroll down right here, you'll see that the International Version says, hear the word of the king of, Then the commander stood and called out in Hebrew. So New International Version says Yahudeyth is the word Hebrew. See how they're lying to you? It's like bait and switch. Okay, it's just not Hebrew. And then New Living Translation said the words Hebrew. What else? The English Standard Translation says the language of Judah. That's correct. But it's really Yahudeyth. Why can't they say Judean or Yahudeyth? And look, one says Hebrew. Another translation says the Jews' language, Hebrew. So they're taking the word Yahudeyth and they're translated as Hebrew, or the language of the Jews. Why couldn't they say Judean? Because if they said Judean, you would get a clue that Hebrew is a made-up language. Hebrew is a made-up language. I'm not teaching you a made-up language. I'm showing you facts. And if I tell you this has a symbolic meaning that means this and that, I'm going to have to prove it to you. Otherwise, you shouldn't believe me. But they're teaching. They're writing books. They're writing books like such as this, and they're just making stuff up. And I'm doing some research, and I got a couple of books, like I said, and I'm like, it's going to inspire me to do these videos, and I'm going to have to clean up. So it's just awful. It's awful that, number one, we or you or other people can see somebody with a certificate, a graduate, a doctor's in like a language, and then now you believe them because they're a doctor, because they follow the norm and they don't question nothing. They regurgitate information. Now you trust them. Whew, that's not good. That's respect of persons. That's respect of persons. And like, it gets me heated up. So if I have some truth, and I am not a doctor in college, and I have truth, you're just not going to hear me out? If Yah speaks to me or shows me something and I can prove it to you, you're not going to believe me because I am not a doctor. Is this what I'm hearing? Because that's not how the scripture, that's not wisdom. That's not wisdom. Yes, you need to be able to prove all things. And yes, you can't follow an idiot. And I'm not asking you to follow me. I've proved who I am. And in this video, I proved to you the name, the language in the Bible is Yahudeyth. Okay. But I also want to say that I hope you're here with me still. Okay. Because this whole thing could be confusing, and I pre-wrote it on the board. The Jews, Yahudeh, the Yahudi people, which is the tribe of, Yahudah, they spoke Yahudeyth. However, King David, Abraham, Moses spoke Manakati, not Yahudeyth. You're going to find the name of the language of the Israelites the first time in 2 Kings 18. That's the first time you're going to see the word Yahudeyth. Before that, you're not going to see that name being attributed to the Israelites. Why? Because the Tower of Babel. Because everybody spoke one language. Okay, go back and read your Bible. Genesis 11. We could do a whole study on reading it together. I mean, I could do that next. Let's do that next. So this concludes the video. Let me know if you have any questions. I could do a follow-up video. Let me know your feedbacks. I'd love to hear from you. Shalom.